Okay, like a total goober, I didn't have my microphone turned on. This is something that I'll learn over time to make 100% sure that everything is going before I start talking. But this time I forgot. So please bear with me. I'm really, really sorry. It's kind of important that for this video that I have a beard because this is a video about shaving and this is the before part of the video. I can't remember exactly everything that I said, but basically, I spoke about my decision to shave my beard because I'm going to the dentist today. And I felt that it was more polite, especially in a culture where beards are not as common and they're not as liked as in other countries and are even taboo in some settings. I felt that I was going to be in close proximity to a dentist for quite a long period of time, and he might appreciate it if it didn't look like I had a bird's nest, possibly with birds living in it, on my face. I actually had a plan to go to the dentist for a few weeks now. It's been about 6 years since I went to the dentist, and I don't recommend waiting so long. Of course, it's very foolish. You should go every 3 months or every 6 months if you have the resources to do so. But my last dental experience was not pleasant. It was a dentist that someone recommended, and it was very uncomfortable, and I did not find it a good experience at all. And I could have found another dentist, but at that time I was living in the countryside, and there weren't that many options, or I didn't investigate the options. And then the pandemic happened and we moved and things kind of kept going, and I just didn't make it to the dentist for ages and ages and ages. So I have this plan to go to the dentist. And then on Friday, I had an accident that made me want to go to the dentist all the more. I fell in a classroom. It was the single most embarrassing moment of my life. I can hardly express how embarrassing it was. The room that this university had put me in was not really an appropriate room for the small language learning communication class that I was going to teach. It was really big, and I like for seating, close to 100 people. And I just had a very small class. So already I kind of went in there and I was uncomfortable, and I was like, oh, I have to change this. This isn't good for my students' needs. But I found out that the AV didn't work. The projector couldn't connect. It was kind of different from other rooms. And, I've asked in the past, please keep me in the same room or the same type of room so the technology shift isn't such a big problem. I teach 5 classes there. And in every room, every class, they have me in a different room. And they're all kind of glitchy. But they ignore those. They have in the past ignored those requests. But this time they put me in this huge room, different tech. I couldn't really figure it out. It wasn't working. So I ran up 3 stories, which is actually 6 flights of stairs, and asked someone to help me. And then I ran down 6 flights of stairs and ran into the room. I had been early, but now I was late, or almost late, because I spent so much time trying to suss things out. And I ran into the room, and I forgot that there was a stage. I am not used to having a multi-level classroom. And the stage was only about a foot high. And I was heading towards my computer. I was thinking about what I was going to say to my students. And then I tripped. And I tripped hard. And I'm a kind of a big person. So I caught my size 14 foot on the platform, and I went flying. I literally was airborne, and I went face first into the stage floor. Luckily, I got my hands out at the last moment, and I was dazed for a moment, and I didn't realize what had happened, but I knew that my nose was really close to the floor, and I could smell the carpet. And my wrists, elbows, shoulders, and neck kind of felt weird, and my knees really hurt because I hit both knees when I landed. And also, my teeth hurt. And I don't think I hit my face. But afterwards, my nose hurt. At the moment, other things were hurting, so it didn't occur to me. But then I'm like, it felt weird. Like I had a really bad cold or something. Like my nose felt tender. So I wonder if I actually did hit, but I pulled up just shy of breaking my nose. I've never broken my nose, but I think if I broke my nose, there would be some blood and a severe pain, which I couldn't ignore. But later there was a dull pain. So anyways, all of that hurt. All of that shocked me. And I had just entered the room. And this was the first day of classes. And these were freshman students. They had never met me before. I had said hello to a couple. They had questions about an assignment that we were required to give before class started, and they couldn't figure it out. I said, "Oh, just wait, we'll figure it out." But basically, I exchanged words with like two of them, and then the whole class was there. I ran in and belly flopped on the floor, hard, and I'm about 6'2", 188 centimeters tall, and I weigh about 275-ish pounds, depending on the day, 123 to 127 pounds. I fluctuate a lot, but in any event, heavy. So it was like a sumo wrestler hitting the dohyo, I felt like. So I turned and it took me a while to get up because I was kind of dazed, and my knees have been achy recently anyway. So getting up, and one of my hips also hurt when I landed. So I was getting up and I had aches in multiple parts of my body, and it took me kind of an embarrassing few moments to get to my feet. And I turned to the students, and they are all frozen in mortified shock. I can't actually remember if some of their jaws were hanging open, but in my imagination, they were, or they should have been. It was incredibly embarrassing. And it was really hard to recover for this very first class. And the person who I had run upstairs to get the AV help with came down and couldn't figure it out. Then they got someone else who came down and they couldn't figure it out. And then a third person who I'd never seen before came from a different office and they couldn't figure it out. And before I'd gone upstairs, I actually walked along the hallway and looked for a better room. And I immediately found a darkened room that was identical to all the other classes I usually have been given in the past. So I look at it and I'm like, I understand that AV cabinet. It'll probably work. And it's empty and we should go there, and there's no stage for a clumsy giant. I'm not a giant, but in the context of Japan, I'm kind of big. Isn't going to trip over a stage. And it took me forever to convince them to allow me to shift. It was basically only when they absolutely could not figure out how to make the AV work. And I think there was something wrong with the settings. It just simply wouldn't. At first I thought I wasn't understanding it because there were way too many buttons and it was all in Japanese. But in the end they allowed me to move. But it was the single most awkward class I've ever taught. And then I was kind of dazed and foggy, and I tried to end the class like 25 minutes early by mistake, because I was thinking about the timetable of the other university I teach at. So I'm telling them, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't get a chance to do this, and we didn't get a chance to do that, and so sorry, we'll do it next time." And they're again looking at me blankly. And then I'm like, "Wait, class isn't over, is it?" And I'm like, "No, we end at 1:15, not..." It was actually, the other school ends at 20 of the hour, and they end 1:15 the hour. So it was like, a full 35 minutes we had left. So we got a lot more stuff done, but I'm never going to recover. These people are going to remember me as this huge bearded dude who fell on his face as a self-introduction to them. And I mean, it might not be a bad thing, because, a little bit of humility can go a long way. And I should not, take it too seriously. But it was a really tough situation. And the really funny thing is I always tell my students not to rush. In Japan, people take time very seriously. People take absenteeism very seriously. People will go to work when they're sick. if they have a big meeting going. And I always tell my students, if you're sick, stay home. If you think you've missed too many classes and you might not pass and you're sick, stay home. Contact me. I will help you make up. If you're late for class, if you have a phone and it's safe to use the phone, send me a message. I might not even see it for hours because I drive a car and then I teach classes and then I drive a car home again. But, I appreciate it and I make note of it, at least a mental note. And, don't rush. I don't want to hear about you falling down on the steps of the train station because you're rushing to my class and you think you can't be late. And I always tell them that. And they always seem kind of surprised and happy to hear that. I don't know what other teachers say, but I take a great pains at the beginning of classes to tell people that their health is of utmost importance. I like my class. I work hard on my class. Going to class is important. Learning is important. Being responsible is important. But your health is always the most important. And you can't, really take care of all the other things in your life if you neglect your health. So I always give this spiel, and I always get a good result from students, a good reaction from students. And then this time, even before I had a chance to give that speech, I didn't do as I preached. I fell on my face and almost knocked myself out. I mean, literally, the velocity I was going, the height from which I fell, the mass that was going behind it. If my hands had not gotten up, I would have been in the hospital that day, depending on what would have, how much I was able to protect myself as I fell. I could have been hospitalized for a long time. I could have been injured horribly or even killed. I'm literally not joking. Being killed would be rare, but I was heavy and fast and moving, with such determination that it was lucky that there wasn't something more dangerous in front of me than an open space, because I could have gone headfirst into the AV cabinet that was just a little bit farther. But in any event, the fact that I have a dentist is a happy bit of luck, because I made this dental appointment weeks ago so I can get my teeth checked and x-rayed to see if they're just tender from clamping on impact or if I've actually injured myself. But I'm also a little bit worried about getting a haircut because I'm not getting a haircut, but shaving my beard, because I have never once in all the many, many years that I've had a beard ever shaved my beard and not immediately said, "Oh my God, why did I do that?" To quote David Byrne, "Oh my God, what have I done?" Every single time I do that, because I always feel kind of a little bit uncomfortable when I first look at myself with no beard. So anyways, actually, when I was filming this, I still had all of those expectations, but now I'm actually shaven, so I know what I look like. So I'll stop now, as I've stopped there. But thank you for your patience. So I'm going to the dentist for the first time in 6 years. Not wise from a health standpoint, but I decided to shave my beard. I feel like it's too messy, so I'm going to do that now. And I have my very, very cheap feather safety razor ready with the excellent made in Japan, very sharp blades. I'm not going to show the process of putting that in. It always takes time. And I want to clean this first because I haven't shaved in 15, 16 months, at least not a full one. So my shaving bowl is tarnished and I got to clean that up. And my synthetic vegan fake badger hair Aesop shaving brush needs to be cleaned. So I'm going to do that all off camera. But I'm going to shave with my first round just with a cheap clipper. The problem is I cannot find the charger for this, and it has power, but only a little bit of power, and it's going to be super embarrassing if I can't get through the brunt of my beard. And then I have to look through the house to find the charger, because I don't think I can actually shave it with a full beard so well. I've got a Shohei Ohtani, number 42 LA Dodgers, coincidentally hair guard. I was just talking about him last week with my students. I used him as an example. If you were going to say someone walks on water, I said I think LA Dodgers fans probably thinks think that he walks on water, and I explained how that expression is usually used hyperbolically or ironically, but he's pretty great, so maybe it's a little bit accurate with him. Generally, I would take off my shirt, but nobody wants to see that. I don't think anyone wants to see that, so I'm going to do it with my Baby Yoda Mandalorian and see how I look. The last time I had a beard before I shaved, I was much darker haired, and I didn't have as much gray. So I am quite concerned that I'm going to be more and more like Santa every time I do it. So that's one reason why I've delayed it so long. But anyways, let me see. Hopefully I can get through it. Let's see if my face is still there and if it still looks okay. So, well, that sound is not good. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of power left. Wouldn't it be hilarious if I stopped here and I just had to spend the next couple of days like this? That would be good enough. I should comment that I have never not regretted shaving a beard immediately after shaving a beard. Every time I've ever grown even a reasonably long beard, the moment I've completely shaved my face, I think, my God, what have I done? And I'm not feeling that just yet, but it will come. So when I was a child, I had an Uncle David who always wore a mustache, and whenever I get to this phase, I think back of the David that is not me from my childhood. When you got so much gray, it's like powdered whiteness, like a shower of dandruff. Well, I think I made it through the brunt of it. Still some crazy hairs. The whole thing is to make sure I don't leave like 1 4-inch hair. Okay, so next, without troubling my wife, I'm gonna shave and then give a video of that. But you can see this, yuck. I think Otani, in his magical power, is protecting the drain from most of it. But yeah. Oh God, what have I done? My face is too small for how big I am, and the beard hides that condition. My head is large. People don't believe that because in Japan, people say you have a small face if your face looks small proportionally to your body. But actually, I wear like a double or triple XL hat size. Like even in America, an adjustable hat is too small for me. And yet I have a small face. I'm making myself sound like an alien. And my wife would argue that maybe I am. Okay, this stage is finished. Let's wait until we get to the next one. So there was an interim video where I had shaved, but I hadn't yet gotten a haircut. But that video also had no mic. It was only after recording the second video that I realized that the introductory part of this video was without sound, and yeah, I realized both of them were without sound at the same time. So no video of me with a shaved face and still the Monchichi hair. I'll put one here so you can take a look at it. It's not much different, but I went off and got a haircut. I went to a discount place. You can get a really good haircut here at a very deluxe barber shop that has hot towels and post shave and haircut massage and all of these things. And I don't really have the patience to sit through that. Or I feel like I haven't had the patience recently. So I go to this very nice discount place, and it only costs 1,300 yen, but I actually give them a full 2,000. Some of them are reluctant to take a tip, but I feel like it's worth it, and I just want to show my appreciation to them, even though tipping is not part of the culture here. I like to do it personally. But now I went to the dentist, and the dentist was extremely amazing. Harai Dentist in Sangenjaya. I cannot recommend it more. It's just so wonderful. They were really great, and they spoke English, and it didn't hurt, and my teeth were much cleaner. You can't really see in this. They only were able to clean the bottom teeth because I had 6 years of not going. And I think they would have tried to go all the way through. Some dentists in Japan intentionally divide it up for insurance purposes, but it sounded like they were going to go all, it sounded like they genuinely needed that amount of time. They didn't think I could sit that long. And I have a bit of TMJ, a bit of a thing with my jaw. So I told them that. So keeping my mouth open so long would be difficult, they thought. But I was doing okay. I felt like I could have done even longer. But I will go back at the beginning of May and have another cleaning. I might need a third one before I'm fully caught up. But I'm feeling pretty good about the beardless state. I think I'm going to buy an electric razor. In the last couple of years, I bought a very expensive Panasonic razor twice. I think 2 different versions, like updated version, and I returned them both, which is not really done that much in Japan. Returning things is not so easy. The policies tend to be quite strict, but in both cases I did, and I was able to do it because I became indecisive, and I decided to keep a beard instead of shaving. But now I've shaved, but I don't think I'm going to go for like a super high-end Panasonic. I think instead I'm going to go for Maxell Izumi, made in Japan one. Pretty deluxe, but not like a super, super expensive Panasonic one. But the dentist was a huge success. He said he didn't seem to think my teeth were damaged. They were in better shape than what I would expect after such a long period of not going to the dentist. But I am determined I'm going to not only keep up with the dentist, but I'm going to patronize this particular dentist because they were just lovely. So anyways, that's the end of this video. I survived the freak accident. I emotionally survived shaving. I'll make another video at some point soon because I discovered a fantastic gym run by 2 American brothers in my area of Tokyo, and yeah, it's just completely amazing. So yeah. Anyways, that's all of this. I guess I'm sleepy and I'm babbling, and I will stop because no one wants to hear that. Thank you so much. Bye.